This fight that Trump is waging with Harvard is what the GOP is doing with education as a whole. They are very anti intellectual. They are against education, the way they are trying to dismantle everything. So this speaks to the wider war against education and how they want to shape the conversation. They want to shape what we teach. It is very important to shape what we teach if we are pushing into a fascist society. And so that's why it says why Trump is relishing his duel with Harvard and other elite schools, but it's their fight with education in general. But let's get into this article from CNN. It says Harvard University is such a perfect foil for Trumpism that it's a wonder it avoided the MAGA maelstrom for so long. But the nation's oldest university is now going head to head with a White House that sees few limits on its power, which it wants to use to shatter elite societal pillars. Harvard President Alan Gerber decided not to bend to the administration's demands to change its policies, declaring that the university would not surrender its independence or its constitutional rights. A university more used to producing presidents than defying them thus sets off one of the most important clashes yet between Trump and an establishment institution. And I will be reading a whole statement from President Alan Garber. That'll be in a whole nother video though. Those without an Ivy League pedigree often mock the snobbery of the country's most prestigious seats of learning, whose degrees open elite circles off limits to most Americans. And when Trump portrays the esteemed academics of Cambridge, Massachusetts, as far left activists pushing woke policies on race and gender, he's not working in a vacuum. Millions of Americans agree with him. Polls show rising distrust of higher education institutions among Republicans. I'm sorry, especially among Republicans. But Trump's assault on the country's top colleges goes beyond an issue that will excite his political base. The administration heat on top universities is part of a broader effort to challenge centers of what it regards as liberal power, which also includes the courts, the federal bureaucracy, and the media. After remaking the Republican Party and the Supreme Court, Trump hopes to extend his populist ideology to higher education as a way to challenge belief systems that conflict with his MAGA creed and to shift the country hard to the right. And it's no wonder that they also want to do that at a time where women's enrollment of college is 2 to 1 to males. So this also makes sense in that regard, as women are pushing more liberal and men are pushing more to the right. So it's no wonder that they're also trying to attack education because women are more focused on education. All of this makes perfect sense to me. Trump is not only taking on top academics and what surveys show are the left leaning faculties, his immigration crackdown has stirred a culture of fear on campuses. Some students have been taken off the streets by border agents, while hundreds more have had their visas canceled on the grounds that their views are damaging to American foreign policy interests. That sense of repression threatens to stifle the atmosphere of open debate that animates a healthy university. And Trump's threats to halt funding for top schools endangers the country's world leading scientific and medical research into killer diseases such as cancer and Alzheimer's. White House demands go far beyond anti-Semitism complaints. Academics are often accused of living in an isolated bubble. This was driven home in December 2023 when New York Representative Elise Stefanik skewered the presidents of top universities over campus protests that critics say have degenerated into anti Semitism following the Hamas attacks on Israel. The academics' nuanced answers might have passed muster in a campus seminar, but they turned into a political catastrophe. The moral outrage of Stefanik, a Harvard graduate, helped lead to the resignation of the university's president, Claudine Gay. The New York lawmaker's performances also made her one of the fastest rising stars in the MAGA movement and the House GOP leadership. Stefanik led the charge against Harvard again on Tuesday after the administration froze $2.2 billion in federal funds when the university refused its demands. If you look at the faculty, the tenured faculty of all these schools, they are so out of touch with American values. 97% of the faculty are self identified Democrats, progressives. They are propping up these radical far left ideas and really teaching anti Americanism, Stefanik said on Fox News. The administration has used anti Semitism charges to fuel both its wider assault on the universities and its mass deportation drive. It demanded that Harvard commission an outside party to audit multiple programs, schools, and departments within the university that it said were tainted by egregious records of anti Semitism or other bias. So they're using it as a wedge to get in, but then they're really just trying to like change the whole structure of the whole university. This is diabolical. But its stunning list of demands doesn't end there. It's called for an end to all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, including reduction in the power of the faculty, ending any hiring based on race, religion, or sex, and new crackdowns on student protests and student groups and clubs, including those that support Palestinian sovereignty, a long time, if lapsed, U.S. government policy. And the White House demanded investigations into past campus protests and sit ins that took place in the aftermath of the Hamas attacks on Israel. The wish list represented an unusual attempt by a presidential administration to exert power over an independent university. The shutdown, which follows an agreement by other universities, the showdown, which follows agreements by other universities, including Columbia, to cede to similar pressure, is almost certain to land in the courts. But Lawrence Summers, the former Treasury Secretary and Harvard president, told CNN that the university should not comply with a government that is being extra lawful. He added, universities are in need of a great deal of reform and it's come too slowly, but that's not a reason why the government can entirely suspend the law and make up self serving political demands and impose them on universities. Trump may believe he's onto a political winner, whatever happens. When universities cave, fearful of losing billions of dollars in public funding, his power is enhanced, and he can pile on even more pressure. When they defend themselves, they give him a fight he's happy to wage. When Democrats criticize him, they take the side of whatever millions of Americans believe are elitist establishment figures who are disliked by much of the country. Disdain for top universities run deep in the MAGA movement, perhaps mostly among Ivy Leaguers like Stefanik and VP J.D. Vance, who often appear to be seeking to atone to their base for their own elite educations. This populist backlash against establishment institutions is at the root of the MAGA movement and America First conservatism, along with a belief that liberal faculties are responsible for propagating a belief system that is anti American. It is crazy that college is anti American to these people. For instance, at a national conservatism conference in 2021, Vance, a Yale Law School graduate, advocated a campaign against very hostile institutions and added, if any of us want to do the things we want to do for our country and the people who live in it, we have to honestly and aggressively attack the universities in this country. After he has gone and got an education, now it's time to attack the universities that give that education. All right, y'all. This is a long article, as you can see, but that is basically the point. They want to continue to talk to MAGA people. MAGA people are anti-intellectual, but MAGA people are also anti-woman, and more women are going to college. So I think that all of this goes hand in hand. They want to continue to roll back the rights of women, and since more women are going into schools to get more and more education, they're attacking universities. They're starting here with the elite universities, but they are trying to defund these programs as much as they can simply because they want to continue to roll back the rights of women. Let me know what you think on that. And like I said, I do have another video where I'm talking about the statement from the Harvard president and some of the things that Trump is saying on his Truth Social page. So all of this goes together. Let me know what you think. The way Trump is acting towards Harvard just goes to show on a broader scale how they are trying to push us into fascism by controlling thought, by controlling how they teach, by controlling how they speak. This is one of the tenets of fascism, trying to control what we learn. This is a tenet of fascism, but Harvard is pushing back. So this is a letter that Harvard posted in their community. It says, "The promise of American higher education. Dear members of the Harvard community, for 3/4 of a century, the federal government has awarded grants and contracts to Harvard and other universities to help pay for work that, along with investments by the universities themselves, has led to groundbreaking innovation across a wide range of medical, engineering, and scientific fields. These innovations have made countless people in our country and throughout the world healthier and safer. In recent weeks, the federal government has threatened its partnerships with several universities, including Harvard, over accusations of anti-Semitism on our campuses. These partnerships are among the most productive and beneficial in American history. New frontiers beckon us with the prospect of life-changing advances, from treatments for diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and diabetes, to breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, quantum science, and engineering, and numerous other areas of possibility. For the government to retreat from these partnerships now risks not only the health and well-being of millions of individuals, but also the economic security and vitality of our nation. Late Friday night, the administration issued an updated and expanded list of demands, warning that Harvard must comply if we intend to maintain our financial relationship with the federal government. It makes clear that the intention is not to work with us to address anti-Semitism in a cooperative and constructive manner, although some of the demands outlined by the government are aimed at combating anti-Semitism. The majority represent direct governmental regulation of the intellectual conditions at Harvard. I encourage you to read the letter to gain a fuller understanding of the unprecedented demands being made by the federal government to control the Harvard community. They include requirements to audit the viewpoints of our student body, faculty, staff, and to reduce the power of certain students, faculty, and administrators targeted because of their ideological views. They are really trying to shape thought processes, and they're really trying to punish people for having a different viewpoint from MAGA and Trump. This is wild. People should really be alarmed by this. We have informed the administration through our legal counsel that we will not accept their proposed agreement. The university will not surrender its independence or relinquish its constitutional rights. The administration's prescription goes beyond the power of the federal government. It violates Harvard's First Amendment rights and exceeds the statutory limits of the government's authority under Title VI. And it threatens our values as a private institution devoted to the pursuit, production, and dissemination of knowledge. No government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities can teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue. People should really, even Republicans should be concerned of this overreach. This is definitely an overreach and a violation of First Amendment. Our motto, Veritas, or truth, guides us as we navigate the challenging path ahead. Seeking truth is a journey without end. It requires us to be open to new information and different perspectives, to subject our beliefs to ongoing scrutiny, and to be ready to change our minds. It compels us to take up the difficult work of acknowledging our flaws so that we might realize the full promise of the university, especially when that promise is threatened. We have made it abundantly clear that we do not take lightly our moral duty to fight anti-Semitism. Over the past 15 months, we have taken many steps to address anti-Semitism on our campus. We plan to do so much more. As we defend Harvard, we will continue to nurture a thriving culture of open inquiry on our campus, develop the tools, skills, and practices needed to engage constructively with one another, and broaden the intellectual and viewpoint diversity within our community. Affirm the rights and responsibilities we share, respect free speech and dissent, while also ensuring that protest occurs in a time, place, and manner that does not interfere with teaching, learning, and research, and enhance the consistency and fairness of disciplinary processes, and work together to find ways consistent with law to foster and support a vibrant community that exemplifies, respects, and embraces differences. As we do, we will also continue to comply with Students for Fair Admissions v. Harvard, which ruled that Title VI of the Civil Rights Act make it unlawful for universities to make decisions on the basis of race. These ends will not be achieved by assertions of power unmoored from the law, to control teaching and learning at Harvard and to dictate how we operate. The work of addressing our shortcomings, fulfilling our commitments, and embodying our values is ours to define and undertake as a community. Freedom of thought and inquiry, along with the government's longstanding commitment to respect and protect it, has enabled universities to contribute in vital ways to a free society and to healthier, more prosperous lives for people everywhere. All of us share a stake in safeguarding that freedom. We proceed now, as always, with the conviction that the fearless and unfettered pursuit of truth liberates humanity, and with faith in the enduring promises that America's colleges and universities hold for our country and our world. Sincerely, Alan B. Garber. So that's Harvard's statement. Well thought out. He hit these points that he wanted to show that this is how we are. This is how we're complying. We're fighting anti-Semitism, and we're still trying to stay within our standards and teach what we want and how we want, do the research, and still allow dissent and freedom of speech. Then you have Trump on Truth Social. He says perhaps Harvard should lose its tax-exempt status and be taxed as a political entity if it keeps pushing political, ideological, and terrorist-inspired or supporting sickness. Remember, tax-exempt status is totally contingent on acting in the public interest. So I'm sure that he's going to start taxing churches that spew MAGA. I doubt that, because this is how they are trying to bully people into pushing messages that only they rubber stamp. So that first True Social was from yesterday. This one's from today. He says, everyone knows that Harvard has lost its way. They hired from New York Bill D and Chicago Lori L at ridiculously high salaries or fees, two of the worst and most incompetent mayors in the history of our country, to teach municipal management and government. These two radical left fools left behind two cities that will take years to recover from, and their incompetence and evil. Harvard has been hiring almost all woke, liberal left idiots and bird brain who are only capable of teaching failure to students and so-called future leaders. Just look just to the recent past of their plagiarizing president, who so greatly embarrassed Harvard before the United States Congress. When it got so bad that they just couldn't take it anymore, they moved this grossly inept woman into another position, teaching rather than firing her on the spot. Since then, much else has been found out about her, but she remains in place. Many others, like these leftist dopes, are teaching at Harvard, and because of that, Harvard can no longer be considered even a decent place of learning and should not be considered on any list of world's great universities or colleges. Harvard is a joke, teaches hate and stupidity, and should no longer receive federal funds. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And you see, he posted this at 4:05 a.m. and it's probably 4:05 a.m. my time, which is probably 1 o'clock in the morning where he is. He comes and he is so unintelligent and uncreative. He is not professional in any way, shape, or form. All he does is have a bunch of insults. And what's wild to me is so many people clutch their pearls as we talk about, MAGA folks, but this is their leader, and people act like, well, he's your president too, but he doesn't act like it. He only wants to be the president of people that walk in lockstep with him. There's no diversity of thought, and his mind is all over the place. It's like a scrambled egg. There's no way that anybody can walk in lockstep with somebody that has a scrambled brain. This is a whole mess, but this is literally indicative of how Trump wants to rule. He wants to rule. He wants to have a dictatorship, and this is part and parcel for that. And it shows fascism, period. Let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on this one?